brightest day, in darkest night, no tiny turtle shall escape our sight. I'm Dan.
And I'm Bryan.
And this week on Duderonomy, we're talking TMNT Season 2, Episode 2, The Incredible Shrinking Turtles. Beware the Eye of Zarnoth's light.
It's the Eye of Sarnoth with an S, not a Z.
Oh, well, it kind of sounded like an X in mine, but okay.
No, I had the exact same issue, and I had to go look it up to make sure. Starting things off right with the wrong title card, as always, almost.
Yeah,
in Ninja Turtles.
Mikey with swords.
Mikey with swords, yeah. I feel like we need to start a drinking game around this.
I definitely want to see if it's consistently throughout the entire series, because I would love that.
I vaguely remember it being so. Okay, so we start off strong. We're opening on a dense jungle. Some really great environment work by the animators of the series, as always. Was this kind of a premonition of Ninja Turtles 2007?
I mean, I think it can be. You have to connect it somewhere, otherwise Leo looks insane. It's like we have to be prepared for our jungle training, and like they're in Central Park. Like, where are you? Where do you anticipate going?
Yeah, that camera pullback was something else. Totally, like, this is a very romanticized version of the darker corners of Central Park, especially in the 80s. I'm pretty sure they shouldn't be worried about getting attacked unless it's with a meth head or something.
And it's still like, they are the worst ninjas. They're training in Central Park in broad daylight. It's like a bunch of bros doing ultimate frisbee.
That's really what it kind of feels like. You're right. It would have been more appropriate if they were just playing ultimate frisbee or something out there. We get Raph popping up in his very high quality camouflage, a bucket hat with a flower on it. And then we get Leo's little zinger on him. So he pops up. Leo strikes the flower off his head. And Raph says, what does he say? He's like, I've been de-daisied.
Yeah.
And then Leo comes back with,
and you'll be pushing up daisies if we don't improve our jungle fighting techniques.
There's so much just casual life threatening in this episode.
There is. And there's a standout character that I'll get to. I'll bring it up a little bit later. But somebody who really kind of goes out of character in a very aggressive way, which I found entertaining in this episode. Spoilers, it's Donnie, because he slips in and boom, yanks Leo's sword away from him with the bow staff.
Yeah.
Donnie Bay caught Leo slipping.
Really gets the drop on him in this one.
It was That's embarrassing for Leonardo.
Well, he was too busy hero posing.
He was totally showboating, as he sometimes does. And Donnie got the drop on him, and we always underestimate Donnie. Is it me too, or is Donatello looking a little pink in this episode?
Yeah, well, it's definitely a lighter purple than I think the other episodes have had so far.
Yeah, the bandana is like borderline pink in this one. It doesn't ruin anything. It was like, something's wrong.
It's like, so is the cape that we see in just a second, because Mikey comes out of nowhere, paying great homage to the Shredder by just dropping out of the sky.
Yeah, I want to make a point to single out the noise he apparently makes during this. After Michelangelo gets to drop on the turtles, basically wearing the Halloween costume I had in 1993, made out of spaghetti colander and what do you say, a pizza pan? What else?
Yeah, he says it a pizza pan, like that's obviously a colander.
Yeah, clearly this man has not spent enough time in the kitchen so far. I did want to point out how they were able to defeat the quote-unquote Shredder. It's a 1-2 push. Leo knocks the Shredder over a crouch down Raph, Free Stooges style. Him. Yeah, they mailboxed him. Okay. If that maneuver worked, great teamwork, but like they didn't even question it. Shredder just like jumped them in the park like a mugger and went down like a chump.
Yeah, no one took a pause, especially because later in the episode he kicks their ass.
It's true. But just the idea of them just being like, this man, we are out for vengeance. We have fought for ages, or we're going to fight for years, or whatever. It's like slump.
All they had to do the whole time was just mailbox him.
Enter spaceship, weird Babylon 5 looking kind of thing, streaking through the sky. And then they jump just straight in the Peter Laird shit here, don't they? Just like, let's do some space stuff. We're like 7 episodes in, Pete. Yeah, let's go into space.
So far we've had like other dimensions, but this is the first like true alien, I would say, because it's so obviously from outer space. But there's a reason that the intro I did is what I did, because this is just the plot of Green Lantern.
Thank you, because shoot. I was saving that joke up myself. It comes it comes at the very end of the sequence.
It's like the spaceship comes out of nowhere, it crashes, and they find, the guy comes out, he's severely injured, he finds a person, and he's like, I have this jewelry, it'll make your wildest dreams come true. It's just Green Lantern.
Yeah. But okay, so you subscribe to the idea that like an alien is not the same as interdimensional, because like, all right, so they save this little purple alien guy in the Central Park Lake, and Mikey calls him a freaky looking alien. And my gut instinct was to go, well, how many aliens have you met to compare and contrast to? And I was like, oh, right, you've actually met several, and most of them just look like James Dean elves.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the difference is splitting hairs at this point. But it does make sense why none of them really react like, oh my God, this is the craziest thing. Like to the Turtles, no, it's not. Like they've seen like a giant skyscraper eyeball tank thing plowing underneath the city. Like this is old hat to them. The thing that I'm surprised about is that a spaceship crashes in Central Park in midday. And it's not even like April doesn't cover it on the news at all in the episode.
Well, all right. So we know this experience because Central Park is always heavily populated, but for what it's worth, it looks abandoned in this episode. So
it does.
Not that somebody wouldn't see a crash landing spaceship from, a distance, but we'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
I also have to remember that the people who made the show think New York City was an absolutely awful place to be.
Very true.
So they're probably like, no one would be in Central Park at this time of day.
Middle of the day? Yeah, no, of course not. Hold up, wait. So Shredder is actually just hanging out in the park waiting to jump the turtles.
I know. He just immediately proves Leo right. Like he could be anywhere, and he is.
He's hiding in the bushes. The criminal mastermind from one of the largest organized ninja mafias in the world, and he's just hiding in the bushes.
At least he's hiding. Considerably better at ninja.
You call that hiding? Covered in shiny metal in the middle of the day and a bright purple towel over your neck?
Did the turtles see him?
Now who's the worst ninjas?
Still the turtles. They didn't see him.
Seriously, the only thing he's needing is like the neighborhood watch, like old lady binoculars. Like, what are those kids up to?
It's even worse because Mikey was cosplaying as Shredder. They should have seen both.
It's not even like he's at the tree line either. It's like a bush out in the middle of the open.
It's so bad.
Whoever did the landscaping for Central Park in 1989, go home, you're drunk.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, they're all terrible, but I still think the turtles are way worse.
Everybody's so dumb in this. Case in point, the turtles drag this little alien guy out of the lake, and Donnie screams out, quick, boil some water, because he heard it on TV one time. And then Raph, correct me if I'm wrong, but Raph turns to Donatello and calls him a dimbo with a D.
We're not delivering a baby, Dimbo.
Quick, boil some water. Yep, no, he says Dimbo. It's even in the subtitles. Dimbo.
What the hell? Is that him just calling Donnie Bimbo?
I guess. It's like himbo, but specifically Donatello.
Yeah, I guess. All right, so here we get introduced to the Eye of Sarnath. And again, I had to go look it up.
Subtitled on mine with a Z, so I was still wrong. But
well, then go check Turtlepedia, the Technodrome, and general Google.
I believe you. I'm just saying Google had it wrong too.
This is a series trope. Now, I like this because I really didn't think about it. This is me discovering, kind of rediscovering some of the denser plot points in this old kind of, flavor of the week kids cartoon. This really added a unique spin to the Fred Wolf Archie verse. It's the beginning of a tetralogy, actually, as I look up, because the next three sequential episodes follow this as they look for the shards of the Eye of Sarnath, and it spans 4 whole episodes. And I don't remember many arcs like this when I was growing up. Do you?
I don't remember it from then, and I don't remember it right now. I'm glad that you looked up ahead, because pretty much all I have to say at the end of this episode is, wait, they're still missing pieces. What do you the news report is just, I mean, we'll get to it, but everybody just ends the episode like everything's fine. I'm like, Shredder has half the city shrunk down and he still has the crystal.
Yeah, like nothing went back, right? But like we got to the end of the standalone episode, and as a stupid kid, I was like, I don't care about the Empire State Building; it must go back normal. But I just thought that was kind of interesting because, like, I don't remember these big, unique tent poles to this version of the franchise. Like, I remember in the 2003 cartoon, there was a Sword of Tengu, right?
Yeah,
that was the mulligan that centered around the Utram conspiracy that fuels most of that show. And then in Rise of the TMNT, they got the ancient city and the ancient weapons and the lore that gets attached to that. And this one, they had the Eye of Sarnath. And it's actually more important than I thought. Like, it happens here in this little mini series, but it also comes back in the Archie comics and feels the time slip Future Sharp arc, because it's absolutely 110% just like the throwaway MacGuffin. And that's what interested me. That's why I went and like had to Google it, because it felt like they took this 1950s B-movie throwaway term, right? This like random noun that just seems like it needs to be heard with like a theremin in the background.
Yeah.
And they turn it into this important all-fixing kind of crystal, which it's got real Infinity Stone vibes to it. But yeah, that's how they travel to the future. Sarnath is a real character who shows up. He's basically like a future cyborg android that kind of looks like Chrome Dome but has 4 arms.
Nice.
And then it also, like, it's heavily implied that the Hyperstone from the Hyperstone heist is in fact the Eye of Sarnath.
Oh man,
weird, right? I went down a rabbit hole on that one.
I watched this whole episode and ended it being like, wow, this was completely unresolved. I left it being like, well, I guess that's never coming back, and that's super weird.
Well, they didn't do a to be continued, right? There's no to be continued at the bottom of a Turtles episode. I don't think that ever actually happens. Like, they didn't create that asset.
It ends so firmly with everybody happy that I was like, wait, so like what weird post-shrinking building New York City does New York live in now? What are the consequences of this? Are we just not going to talk about any of it? But I guess we do.
It's so weird to like think about the real world implications of these obnoxiously overblown comic book tropes. Like, so like in the Avengers with the blip and people disappeared for 5 years and then everyone just has to go back to normal. And you're like, wait, what? How? And then like in the IDW comics, a third of Manhattan is now occupied by previously humanoid, now animal hybrid mutant monster people. Like, and we're all just going along with it with society. Yeah, we got jobs now. And then you think, like, how does the world survive? And then you live through the last 2 years and then you realize
it doesn't.
Yeah. All right. So they drag Homeboy up on the beach and he dies. And yeah, this is already better than the Green Lanterns movie. We got Turtles zipping through New York City following the crystal tracker. Oh, by the way, he gave him a crystal tracker.
That,
as you do.
That was my favorite part about the whole thing, was like alien crash lands, just gives him a weird gizmo that helps him track 3 fragments of a magic crystal and then dies. It's like, my job is done here.
He didn't even like screen him. Like, do we know the Turtles are the good guy? He don't know. So they're tracking the Sarnath, and oh Jesus Christ, Shredder's got the binoculars. I called it. Shredder shows up with the Neighborhood Watch binoculars, just spying on Turtles with Baxter Stockman from the top of building.
I gotta give him credit though; he's doing a legit smart thing of following them
for once. All right, so everybody wants the stone. Everybody wants the Eye of Sarnath. I like
the Maltese Falcon.
Yep, I like the part where Baxter's holding the phone for Shredder, like he's about to drop a hot TikTok for Krang.
And he's eating ice cream. For
no reason.
Like,
there's absolutely no reason.
Baxter was not in this episode, and then suddenly he was just there eating ice cream. The guy is just like the most nonchalant badass in the show.
They make him a toady. You know, Bebop and Rocksteady aren't following Shredder around yet, so he's got to drag around this poor little inventor dude. But it's not even like they establish like, oh, it's hot out, I need ice cream. He's just eating ice cream. And then he ruins it. Well, Shredder ruins it.
Yeah, I think this is one of those like classic Shredder lines from the show where he smashes the ice cream cone all over himself and just like, nice, Baxter. Nice.
Oh, blast that bodiless brain! Oh, nice, Baxter. Nice.
Yeah, I got a big highlight in my notes about that delivery. Just James Avery going forward is just devouring the scenery. He realizes how sinister he can make the Shredder. And yeah, it's just nice, Baxter. Nice. Just like a pissed off roommate, not a criminal genius. Although the entire exchange there between Shredder and Krang just further reinforces the Shredder's closet submissive nature and reduces him to basically more than enlightened henchman in this episode.
Oh my god. Everything about their conversations in this episode are great. Because he calls up Krang and is like, give me my foot soldiers. And he's like, nah. And Shredder's like, I'm gonna succeed this time. He's like, you always say that. You're gonna fail again. Like, damn, Krang. Just keeping it honest.
Ice cold. Okay, so we got 4 turtles in a souped-up van just rolled up in broad daylight on the pier, and no construction, trash, or harbor workers or even flinch. They're literally standing in the background if you look at some of the painting. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and call that our going to LaGuardia moment.
You're going to LaGuardia, right?
I think even again later in the episode, they're like all talking like Raph makes a crack over the news broadcast where he's like, yeah, that'll be the day when we can walk around the city without hiding or something. Like, I forget the exact line, but he's just like, he's talking about how they can't walk on the street and turning it into like, oh, like when pigs fly kind of comment. And it's like, dude, you've spent the entire episode just outside and no one has accosted you besides the Shredder.
That's true. They barely go home in this one. They're basically out on the town all day. I do want to say solid move by the Shredder when he swings down. So the turtles have jumped into a trash barge where the alleged Eye of Sarnath exists. My muscle memory wants to keep saying Eye of Sauron. But yeah, and then Shredder spots him, swings down like Tarzan. I don't know if the physics really hold up on the trajectory of that swing, considering he just kind of does like a 90-degree pivot halfway through to turn around, but we don't see it. But hey, whatever. It looked cool.
Yeah, he can get away with it.
This is the part where I point out like Donnie is uncharacteristically aggressive in this episode because he's the first one. Like the Shredder barely grabs the stone, lands on the pier, and Donnie is in his face. And it wasn't a slouch hit either. Like he swung right for the throat.
I was going to call out Donnie earlier because this is a thing that has come up twice now where the turtles have to do something. Like whether it's like with the Weather Dominator, I will call it that, even though that's obviously the G.I. Joe thing. But when Granitor throws the Weather Dominator up in the air and they have to destroy it, he's like, why do we have to do this? And then now when they have to find the jewel in the dumpster in the barge, he's like, why are we the ones that have to do everything? It's like, dude, it's your show. Why do you keep?
That would be the ultimate meta joke for Raph to turn to camera and say, it's like, we are the stars. But it's always Raph that kind of puts him in his place, too, if I remember right, too. Because this one, yeah. He's like, who else is going to do this?
It's just really funny to think, like, I'm going to keep an eye out on if this is just Donnie's character, that he's just like, our life sucks so much. Why do we have to keep saving other people's lives? But then he begrudgingly does it anyway.
I could only think like it's the most two-dimensional, child-friendly narrative way to show that Donnie is the quote-unquote pacifist of the group, which has always been part of his characterization in the comics.
That's true.
Or you just need that one guy to whine. Next, we got a really good line from Shredder again. He's taken down Donatello with hardly a breath, but one down, 3 to go. He goes full like Tony the Tiger. Just bless you, James Avery. Thank you for all of the gifts you've given us.
Mikey with the straight up threat, you're about to get dusted.
Which just kind of sounds like a Zoomer slang now.
Just broad daylight, be like, I'm going to murder you.
Burying you.
That is not the attitude that I usually expect from Michelangelo. And he steps in this like obvious rope trap.
Yeah, what the hell? There's just a perfect lasso laying on the ground. Worse, Mikey puts his foot directly in the middle of it, and there is like a football field worth of open concrete around him.
There's nothing else, and he just happens to step there and not see it.
My note at this point, like I stopped and it just said Shredder goes on to obliterate the boys, just run in circles, boys.
This whole fight scene reminds me of the insult fight scenes in Monkey Island.
I never played Monkey Island. Enlighten me.
So like in the Monkey Island series, the pirates, instead of like, they have sword fighting, but because it was a point and click adventure title, they couldn't really do like an action fight scene where like, what would you do? Like pick out like thrust parry kind of thing. So instead, the guy versus three Blood, like the player character has the way the winner is determined is by having insults back and forth with each other. And if you have a better insult, you get the upper hand in the fight.
I mean, that's basically just every cartoon fight, though. At least from this era, like nobody's throwing real fists. They're throwing verbal fists.
Yeah, but it's just funny to get like, there is so much back and forth here. Like this is essentially the rooftop fight from the movie, except it's just one-liners the entire time.
I can get behind that.
Like he's taking them on one by one, and he's just tossing them aside. But instead of being a badass, he's making 1990s puns.
I mean, yeah, but it's all Shredder. It's all one-sided too. Like Mikey had the dusted line, Donnie got in his face, but like Raph really kind of like wussed out on this one, and he should be the mouth, right?
Yep.
Disappointing. Shredder continues on with all the jokes. Quote, net results, 4 trapped turtles. I made a funny. I wonder if the movie took directly from that.
Oh my God. I mean, I almost thought at the end of this episode that Splinter was going to do that.
Also, I really just love the point where he says it's time to cut you down to size, or he's going to cut Michelangelo out of the net trap that he got him in earlier, or the lasso trap. And the man covered in blades cuts the rope with his foot.
Everything about this. He easily dispatches them, has them all trapped in some like crazy contraption that he improv'd in like 2 seconds. But instead, he just cuts Mikey down.
I mean, besides that, though, I know they're trying to not show people getting stabbed in the kids' cartoon, but this is the one moment in the entire episode where using a blade is both safer and smarter.
I mean, they're you know what? Never mind. I'll bring it up at the end of the episode. Shredder uses his feet a lot in this episode, and none of them really make sense. It looks like he's just kind of tripping himself in midair.
I mean, he lands a couple of really good kicks. I'll
oh, yeah, for sure.
Pointing ahead towards the finale fight, he gets a couple good shots in.
Definitely. Another great line from this is Shredder saying, I've won this fragment in clean combat, and Raph being like, you mean dirty combat? And be like, no, he kicked your asses. Like, it wasn't really dirty to use his surroundings. Like, he just beat you.
Yo, take the L. Take the L, Raph.
Right. Like, was it really dirty that you got caught by the single piece of wood in the area? You probably should have moved out of the way instead of it landing directly on you. Mikey stepped in a rope. It was the only thing around.
I'm Team Shredder on this fight. He earned it.
Yeah, no, this was definitely Shredder for the clean victory.
Well, a clean victory until he uses the Eye of Sarnath, which, of course, just involves him holding it in the direction, and then it happens.
Yep, he has no idea that this is going to happen.
No.
I'm assuming he thinks it's just going to obliterate them.
Which would make a lot more sense. But then he just kind of falls in love with the shrinking turtles because I think he's got a weird fetish or something.
Like, even the description is just like, oh, it'll give the wielder power beyond their dreams. It's like, well, I guess he didn't dream of shrinking them.
No, why would he? He would like dream of their bodies melting into goo or something, or regressing back to not mutant turtles at the very least. So
it feels like
predisposed.
A monkey's paw sort of thing that just happened to work in his favor.
Yeah, absolutely. But and then that note, it completely backfires because then he loses them because they're too small.
Yep. And
it is utterly adorable how they run around like toddlers.
Yep. That like they run away instead of being captured, which like, good job. That's actually a good strategy. And then Leo's like, never mind, let's fight. What? You're a terrible leader.
And then the only thing that works in their favor is that Shredder trips on everything that's ever existed.
Oh, yeah. He fails every QuickTime event.
I like when they're hiding in between, like, I don't know, it's like fishing tackle boxes or something like that on the pier. And the Shredder is just like dropping big boots all over the place. And Raphael gives us a little history flash. He references Custard's last stand.
Yup.
You guys go on. I can't run any farther.
Never! We'll make our stand here!
Kind of like Custer did.
Which I have vague memories of being like a 4-year-old sitting in like a 3 or 4-year-old sitting in a room with a bunch of kids and looking around each other and shrugging.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't get that. Not at the time. Now it's like, ooh, Raph.
I mean, that's some tight, deep cut reference material right there. Like that's some like Lewis Black history reference material right there. Then a garbage truck blows by. Turtles bounce away in the wind, surviving to fight another day.
You missed Shredder's single best one-liner of the entire episode.
Which was?
Who needs foot soldiers?
When a single foot will take care of you, insect.
Oh, yeah, I blew right over that one. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So they don't really show what happened, but when we cut to the next scene, you've got the Turtles running around with that tracking crystal,
Yep.
which originally Donnie was carrying on his own in his shrunken state, and they're about the same height. And as they're coming out of an alleyway past the point of escape and trying to find their way back home, it takes all 4 turtles to carry the crystal. And Raph makes a reference that they are getting smaller, but they never really display this, nor does it seem to continue that way. The turtles are just appropriately small to scale for whatever scenario they need to be small for.
Yeah. They never actually get smaller. They just say they're getting smaller.
The Incredible Shrunken Turtles is more appropriate for a title.
Just because this is the theme of our podcast, this is the one thing that actually makes them good ninjas.
Being able to hide.
Yeah. No one can see them or notice them.
I mean, they still push their limits.
Oh my God. They try real hard to be seen. I also got to call out Leo one more time because they're in the street trying to get into the sewer. And then a big truck comes down and Leo goes, a watering truck? Like it's like very clearly a street sweeper. What do you think those are?
Okay, thank you for pointing that out. I didn't want to bring it up because I didn't want to feel like I was an idiot, because I've never heard it called a watering truck either. No. It's always been a street sweeper, right?
Yes. What Leo or the writers were just like, yeah, those are trucks. They come down the road and they just make the street wet. They're watering trucks. Like,
tell me you've never lived in New York without ever telling me you never lived in New York, right? It's not even New York though. Like my old crappy
they're everywhere.
Little hometown had a street sweeper.
It's just like one of those things that it's totally stupid. It's not as funny as I think it is, but I really, really laughed at that moment of being like, he's never seen a street sweeper before.
I guess. I mean, do we want to get into the deep philosophy lore of like how the turtles probably perceived the street sweepers as like the boogeyman when they were growing up, because the thing would just rumble over their heads or something?
I mean, it does have a scary robot face.
It does. Because of course it does. Probably designed by Baxter. All right, we're in full-blown Honey, I Shrunk the Kids territory now. Everything is a giant threat. Everything is terrifying and hilarious and wonderful. The street sweeper's closing in, and Leo channels his inner Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Head for the high ground!
Yep, the high ground was too high.
The high ground was too high. They get washed down the sewer drain anyways. And we get another great animation error with Donnie's voice coming out of Leo for like a good 2 sentences.
And they finally remember that they're turtles and that water shouldn't bother them.
Yeah, even though they conveniently kind of re-forget that again in this episode.
Yeah, well, because it was a thing in like the first episode.
Yeah, we're turtles. They presumably swim home. Dad, can you help us not be shrunk? Dad says, I don't know, let me ask your mother.
Yep.
So Shredder calls April, and this is something I pointed out as a cultural kind of phenomenon. April has got her turtle comm out, and it's sitting on the table in front of her during a meeting.
Yep.
Like we all do now with our cell phones. With their big, clunky, chunky brick rectangle cell phones, we put them out of our pocket onto the table when you have a big work meeting, you're having lunch. April was way ahead of the game. Total keystone moment for communications right there. Although
trend setting in 1988.
She made the fatal error of leaving the ringer on.
And in speakerphone.
And speakerphone on, yeah. The real life imitates art, I would say. I did also really like I found it very satisfying when April uses Burns' words against him about making split-second decisions.
Yes.
That's what he's harping on, is we need to get better news and then make more split-second decisions. Be exciting. And she drops that knowledge on him in order to get out of her Zoom or meeting or whatever. And
may we all be inspired by April in our next business meetings.
Oh, what a slam dunk that was. That chef's kiss. I want to do that. We cut away to Krang. He's on the throne in the Technodrome, back on the phone with the Shredder. My notes say Krang gets immensely powerful robot body, sits in chair all day.
Still can't find a shirt.
But the underoos fit spectacularly.
This is the other moment where Shredder's like, I got rid of the turtles. And Craig's like, nah, I don't believe you. Show me proof. And he's like, well, I don't have any proof. It's just immediately cops to it. Like, well, okay, you got me.
I mean, point taken, but I very much appreciate more than what's being said is how it's being said. And that's how Shredder is gesticulating with his cape around like the goddamn Phantom of the Opera.
Rest in peace, Phantom of the Opera, now leaving Broadway.
Oh, I just saw that. Yeah, you're right. As far as the cape goes, like even at the end, like he hangs up the phone and goes like full Bela Lugosi with the cloak across his face.
I mean, if you got a cloak, you might as well play it up.
I mean, he's fighting with his husband on the phone. Is it really that necessary to be that physical? But it's just like, that's just Shredder. He's just a big drama queen.
Yeah, he's flamboyant. He's still in the middle of the docks. He's got a whole bunch of people watching him, likely.
Very true. That's also true. People just standing around like, who's he mad at? I don't know, some guy named Krang.
Weird name, but okay.
You going to LaGuardia, right?
It's the weirdest walkie-talkie I've ever seen.
We got a scene of Splinter and April in the turtle van swerving through the city looking for the boys. There's a TV in the dashboard that says That's
Clark, right?
Clark?
That's got to like the news reporter. I think that's supposed to look like Clark Kent.
I was just gonna make a crack about. I always loved like the classic news guy voice in cartoons.
Oh, the voice for sure.
We interrupt this program. Everybody sounds like Walter Cronkite.
I mean, like he doesn't have the glasses, but like the hair swoop, the red tie, like it spoke a little bit to me of Clark. I thought it was a fun little reference, but
very likely. But okay, so the big takeaway here that almost slipped under my radar, and I backed up and I watched it again. I went, oh man. The TV says we interrupt a commercial. First, April, why are you rolling around driving a car with TV commercials playing? Just TV commercials. And then April goes on to observe, interrupt the commercial. It must be big news.
Yeah.
And just another on-brand stab at capitalism.
I definitely wrote that down. Just solid point, April. She's on fire this episode.
If I take away nothing else from this age 36 rewatch of my favorite childhood cartoon series, it'll understand why I'm a bleeding heart liberal.
April's just calling out all of the insanity that this show was a part of.
I'm really looking forward to more of these like under the radar jokes that you never appreciate. I'm here for it. So apparently Shredder's shrinking a bunch of buildings and shit, I guess.
Yep. This was his plan.
Was it? You never said so.
Oh, no. Yeah. There wasn't like a strategy. He was just like, I got this crystal. I can't find the turtles. Guess I'll start shrinking buildings. Why not?
That's a logical pivot if you ever ask me. But I mean, okay, he shrinks the buildings, but no one ever says how the fuck he collected them. Did he just walk down there and put him in like a WNYC tote and take it back to his little terrarium that he's got in a goddamn cheese factory? They're living in a cheese factory now because, I don't know, real estate is really bad.
Reasons.
I guess. But yeah, you would think like, okay, several landmark skyscrapers in one of the largest metropolitan areas in the entire world have gone missing to the naked eye. Regardless, we have witnesses that know that the building stayed intact and shrunk down
to
dollhouse size. And they just let the guy covered in knives come down and walk away with them. Where's the National Guard, Dan?
It was a different time, Brian. It was a different time.
No like crazy patriot tried to stop him or something. I don't know. Jesus. He And then he puts him in this fish tank, and he's like, "This will impress Krang."
Right.
I guess
Like, that's his plan.
Specifically asked for turtles, Shredder. This is why you're getting divorced.
There's so much of his plan that was just like, I don't know. I guess I'll try this. He's just like completely defeated at this time. He really does give off like divorced dad vibes sometimes. It's like
entrenched henchman. Like, that's all he can get out of him in this one. And yeah, it's totally defeatist. And that's all he's trying to show to Krang. He's like, I got this for you. And Krang's like, fuck off.
This will impress him. He'll take me back now. I didn't ask for half of Manhattan, you idiot.
Oh, these cockamamie plans.
And he's just like, he'll definitely give me my foot soldiers back now. Dude, why do you even need them? You're just shrinking buildings. Just shrink everything.
Or put it on an island and raise it up into the sky, a la the third Nintendo game. I don't know why he's got such a vendetta against New York City, honestly. Like, his whole thing is like world domination, but he only ever picks on Manhattan.
Oh, yeah, he can't even get off the island.
No, like, even in canon, like, it always comes back to New York being screwed. All right, so back to the story. It's not hard to find. Turtles being cute, eating one slice of pizza. It's a delightful little moment. Then they get washed away by a little puddle trickle. They call it a sewer trickle. But like,
they call it a sewer trickle. It floods their home.
Bro, you need to check your pipes, even if you do live in the sewer. These things can be prevented.
Like, they make it seem like this is a regular occurrence, and it is like it is past their couch.
Yeah, this isn't a trickle. And even if it was a trickle, you can stop that.
You have a whole guy who's a specialist in technology.
That's his thing. Donnie, where's the sewer tape? Come on, where's the plumber's tape? Next note is, I'm sick of these sewer swimming snakes on this tiny turtle soap. I'm not going to do a Samuel L. Jackson impression.
Fair.
Back to the cheese factory. Krang is not impressed by Tiny Town.
Surprised.
Yeah. Shredder curses Krang when he hangs up the phone. Calls him a ganglion. You know what a ganglion is?
I assumed it was part of the brain. I didn't look it up.
No, it is in fact a type of raised fluid cyst that comes up in between bones in your hand and arm very commonly, and tends to be very viscous. It's gross.
I am not a smart man.
I have Google. The next part, we got Shredder and Baxter has just unveiled to Shredder that he happens to have the exact device that he needs in this moment, but also could have retroactively essentially subverted all of his prior inventions, i.e. the Mausers, because this tracking device that he just pulled out of his ass renders him completely obsolete in the scenario. And Shredder's response is, "Ooh, excellent."
All right. I got to bring this up. I know it's a cartoon, but if I'm not going to overanalyze, what's the point of even doing a podcast? He makes a heat-seeking turtle scope. That's what he calls it.
Yeah.
But turtles are cold-blooded.
I'm glad you called it.
They won't show up on thermal imaging.
I mean, okay, they kind of will. It's not like their blood runs ice cold. They still have body temperature. But the idea of using heat-seeking technology to seek out something like an amphibian or a reptile, especially of an aquatic variety, is useless. Especially if they're residing in the sewers underground.
With all the steam pipes and stuff.
Yeah.
I was just like, as soon as he said it, I was just like, wait, what?
It's it like hovers a line between like the absolute perfect, most conveniently circumstantial solution to a problem and absolutely the worst idea ever.
But of course, because it's Baxter, it works immediately. He immediately finds them. In all of New York City, he just immediately finds them and inadvertently saves them.
I mean, there isn't even like a downtime of him seeking them. It's just suddenly he's there. The turtles have been washed down to the drain, I guess back into the same lake from Central Park, which gives us a better idea that the turtle lair, according to the Fred Wolf series, must be in, I guess, Harlem?
Yeah, maybe.
I like the part where they spend like a solid minute and a half just casually talking underwater. And no one's gone up for air.
But they were really worried about it before.
They were.
How will we breathe underwater? Whoa, we can talk.
For guys who can't decide whether they're amphibious or not. Yeah, it's an interesting development. And then, as you mentioned, Baxter to the rescue, saved him from, I guess, a koi fish, maybe.
I mean, it looks like they drew a piranha, but it's yellow.
But it's yellow. I don't know. Splinter tracking his sons by vibes. No gadgets necessary.
I'm so glad you called that out. I love that line because he just like, I left my children at home, but I sense them nearby. And then he immediately explains it like, I know I haven't had this ability in the past, so I'm going to explain for the people at home that the connection between Sensei and student is very strong. Must be.
I've abandoned my child. I've abandoned my boy.
Oh man, now I want to go to a con and get Eric Bauza to say that.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing. I would love that.
How about April being like in a neighborhood like this? Where? Midtown? What?
They never really do a good job of like telling us where they are. They just Manhattan is just Manhattan, you know?
It's just like every single shot of outside is like really tall, picturesque glass buildings, and then apartments about to be set on fire.
And occasionally a haunted house.
And then a haunted house. And a cheese factory.
And a cheese factory. For kids in the 80s, there's really three things in New York. Statue of Liberty, the Empire State Building, Central Park. That's it. That's all they really know.
True.
Even Times Square is just like, well, that's what all of New York must look like. Donnie's bringing the heat again when he gets up in Krang's face this time. I just love that Donnie is just a fireball in this episode for no reason either. There's no like, oh, he had a rough time this morning. He's acting out. He's just like, I'm going to be mad. Donnie's here and he's mad today.
Get 0 fucks by Donatello.
So like I'm out of my seat at this point. We're cheering like the Turtles. You're going down, Shredhead. And then a homeboy turns around with a fucking crowbar, and I felt a hush fall. Like this show just went from dastardly evil cartoon villains to, oh shit. Okay, calm down. I love. Think of all the elaborate plans, all the death machines that he's had in 7 episodes. We're only 7 episodes in, and he's just like, F this. I'm going to crush him with a crowbar. He's got a perfectly good conveyor belt system that would allegedly destroy them because they can't survive being put into a cheese machine at his disposal. And no, he goes for the bludgeoning weapon. I respect that. That would have gotten results. That's what Krang has been asking for. And it took you this long? I knew he was going to do it like live. With Baxter in the building. He's doing like Zoom call to Craig in Dimension X. And he's like, I'm going to crush these guys with a fucking crowbar. Hey everyone, welcome to my Twitch screen. Smash, subscribe, like, and hit the bell. Today we are fucking up turtles. Just incredible. Somebody clearly had just read Batman, Death in the Family. Oh my God. Like he just has the phone propped up. Like he has this little like the pop socket on the back of his communicator. It's got strong Reservoir Dogs vibes. It's just he's covered in knives. And he picks up a crowbar. It's just like, this is the most simple, beautiful comedy this show has done. I mean, if we could just start rolling a little bit of Stuck in the Middle with You, we've really got the bases covered. I'm just putting that out there. Oh my God, it's so perfect. I love this show. Smash cut. The party wagon blasts through the decrepit old barred wooden barn doors that all modern industrial parks use, right? Of course. Yeah. Every door in Manhattan is van-sized. Every door in Manhattan is van-sized and made out of particle board. That's important. We got to back it up. Splinter refers to himself as Shredder's sensei in this moment. Okay, so I always thought that they were equals, at least represented in the one-on-one version that doesn't take in the incorporation of the comics where he's got like an older brother and stuff. Right. The Hamato Roku family clash, they're even. They're the same age. They were in the same class. Like they clearly established that in the 2012 version. It's heavily implied In
I mean, like, even in this show, the flashback that we get in like the second episode is them kneeling side by side where their actual sensei comes, and that's how Hamato Yoshi gets banished, because he sticks the sword in the wall.
yeah, it feels like that must have been like a misquote, or somebody was just kind of writing out of their ass, because it takes us from like Vader Obi-Wan to Luke versus Kylo, you know?
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess because they do show Yoshi teaching, so like I guess he taught him, but he was certainly not like the master of the dojo.
No, the master threw him out.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a weird quote that made me like stop for a sec. So after that quote, we got Shredder, who turns and calls Splinter Rusty. Splinter Uno reverse cards right back into his aluminum face. And,
even more Monkey Island insult fights.
And then we land a couple of really good kicks, though. Like a couple, like the one that's I thought the first time I saw it, I thought Splinter kicked him in the throat, but it's definitely the chest. But there's a solid hit there that I appreciated.
Oh yeah, there's some real solid flying kicks in this one. The one that I wanted to call out is what the animation for when Shredder leaps across to turn the conveyor belt on, and he kicks the handle, like the joystick, the handle. I don't know why I'm over explaining the controls. But he jumps across the room and he kicks it, but like he doesn't hit it with the bottom of his foot. He catches it in the crook of his ankle.
Oh yeah.
It just looks like he trips himself in midair.
You're right. That is a weird animation quirk there. I didn't think about it the first time, but yeah, you're right. That is kind of an awkward, like, yeah, it's weird. Good catch. Meanwhile, these two are brawling. April just kind of wanders in.
Oh yeah.
Just kind of looks around for a little bit.
Gets out of the van. Like, oh,
there's turtles there. They're little. She's enamored. And yeah, she's using the crystal thing, so she's crystallizing them while the dads are fighting in the background. I did like, April, turn on the beam. How?
I don't
know. Finally acknowledged it. But of course, as soon as they just acknowledge that these things just happen, it just happens.
Yep. And I'm like, they don't even try and get him out of the jar. Like,
oh, what the hell is up with that?
That had to be extremely painful.
I don't know why they couldn't just like pop the top first. Were they in that much of a hurry? She's standing there like an idiot trying to figure out the crystal controls.
I'm just surprised that didn't kill them. Like, I would not want to be in that situation.
Shell mechanics. That's all I'm going to say. So the turtles are free. Splinter is safe. Then he turns and he does chop Shredder in the throat. That is definitely a throat hit right there. And I absolutely love it because he goes down like a sack of potatoes. Bad guys get away. News report, pizza, credits, and we're out of here.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're glossing over this because literally my notes are just me going crazy at this point because I did not know that they come back to this next episode. There is absolutely nothing in the end of this episode that makes you think they will come back to this.
Nope. No, they were just going to hope that you would. But I mean, at that point, we're stupid zombie kids, so they're not wrong, but a little to be continued would have helped, guys.
And she just like, just as mysteriously as it started, this entire shrinking business stopped. Did it? Did he give the buildings back? Did he? Why would he stop shrinking them?
There's other plot points in this series, though, that don't have anything to do with the Sarnat that has to do with like shrinking and like size change and shit.
It's like just so much. Like this would be the most infuriating news story to have to watch. Hopefully, one day the true story behind this incredible event could be revealed. What kind of reporting is that?
If a news reporter said that on TV, they'd be packing their bags the next 10 minutes out the door. That is not reporting. That is absolutely embarrassment.
It's the equivalent of Spaceballs combing the desert.
We ain't found shit.
It is a throwaway ending because it is a cliffhanger, technically. But I did it like that Splinter got one last smartass in when he ordered the pizzas for the boys and they'll get like bagel bites. It's worth the joke, and like they scarf their little pies gratefully. But like, did Splinter just starve his children? I mean, did he just like withhold food from his sons because he felt like a joke.
I mean, we know from previous episodes they have a whole freezer of frozen pizzas.
That's fair, but like you paid delivery, bud.
I'm just imagining that whole like phone call. Like, yes, I need 4 pizzas, but I want you to make them the size of a quarter and then deliver them to a sewer. Oh, don't worry. My son will meet you. He'll pick it up from you. He's a 4-foot tall turtle.
Listen, we all know like the explanation behind this is that Domino's does not give a fuck and will just throw their food into the sewer in hopes that someone will eat it as long as there's a paycheck.
Oh, don't worry. You'll recognize him with the orange mask over his eyes.
Okay, so season 2, episode 2, Ninja Turtles 87. I have some thoughts on the moral of this one, the takeaway. I feel like this is a classic candidate for looks can be deceiving. We opened the episode with Mikey in a Shredder costume fooling his brothers. But then we finish with Turtles in a small stature, but still being the heroes at the end of the day. I don't know. What do you think?
I think the big lesson that I pulled from is kind of how Splinter summarizes it at the end of the episode, which that mistakes can be great teachers.
That's
like,
much better.
The Turtles don't really succeed in this episode at all. They get beat by Shredder in the beginning of the episode. They get shrunk down by him. Splinter and April completely bail them out at the end of the episode, and then Shredder gets away. So they don't like really save the day. Now we know now because the next episode continues this, but in the moment, like the way that it ends, like it really just feels like this was one of those like one of those episodes where the heroes are down on their luck sort of thing. Like nothing really goes right, and then the best lesson they can pull from it is that like, well, we have to learn from our mistakes too, and we can be better, and this is why we're training kind of thing.
That's good. I both takeaways work, but I actually think I like yours better. Yours makes a lot more sense, better explained.
They definitely work. I mean, but like the Turtles as a whole can always be like, looks can be deceiving, right? Because like Shredder is like, oh yeah, I mean, sure, he wears an armor of knives and shit, but you'd be like, you know, he's the human in all of this, and he's the least human of all of them.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's how a villain should be represented, right? Someone you can't associate with.
Yeah, but it like I as we get closer to like rating of the episode, I love this episode because it was really, in my opinion at least, of the ones we've watched so far, the first to really go all cylinder on being just zany.
Okay. I might be swinging the other end of this pendulum. Honestly, I was going to downgrade this to just an excellent. It's not a bad episode. In my opinion, it was an excellent, not a cowabunga, until I realized that they were starting to thread the needle with some plot points and essential tent poles for this universe. So that actually boosted it back up for me.
Okay. I feel like we kind of land at excellent because I enjoyed the episode thoroughly because it was so silly to me. But I was like, you had to do extra research to see those connections.
Well, I would have figured it. We would have figured it out in the watching of the next sequential episode.
Well, yeah, but that's the next episode.
I just don't remember this many details from that far ago. That this Eye of Sarnath thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
I never would have considered it.
I'm just saying, like, if I take points off for anything, it's that the episode ended and it was like, I guess everything's fine now. When it was like so clearly not.
Fair. All right, we're gonna call this our first excellent.
It's not bad. It's still really good, but it's just got a couple things that pull it back from being the full cowabunga.
I think that's fair. They took a couple risks. A lot of them landed. Nothing is perfect. Still great show. Still holding up.
I mean, like for the episode that they do so much in this one episode, it's crazy. Like there's an alien. The turtles get shrunken down. They're like, there's this whole MacGuffin that takes them across the city. 3
primary antagonists.
They're like 2 big fight scenes.
Yeah, I mean it's still loaded. It was still fun to watch. Yeah, I just really enjoyed that they started thinking about the future.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for the next episode.
Excellent it is. The next episode, by the way, is season 2, Episode 3 is It Came From Beneath the Sewer. I didn't even look ahead yet. Yeah, this is another classic.
Is this the the alien from Aliens?
You mean like the pizza monsters?
Yeah, the pizza
killer
aliens.
pizzas? No, that comes after. That comes a little bit later.
Okay, cool.
And looking at the descriptions and Fandango, they even reference them as the xenomorphs.
That's great. Oh yeah, the case of the killer pizza.
All right, close things out. Let's get our affirmation. I just wanted to pull a quote from a very prolific writer that I felt worked in an episode about our primary protagonist getting shrunk down and having to deal with new challenges. Mark Twain once wrote, "It's not the size of the turtles in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the turtles," or something like that. Anyway,
Yeah,
close enough.
to paraphrase.
All right, thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you again next week.
Duderonomy is produced by Brian Van Gelder and me, Dan Spitaleri. Brian edits and mixes the show and also designed our show art. Our theme music is composed by Mario Sello Nuñez. You can hear more of his music on Spotify, which we've linked to in the show notes. Find us on Twitter at Duderonomy_TMNT and send email to deuteronomy.tmnt@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Cowabunga!